Hello, everyone. Good morning. I'm incredibly grateful and excited to have you all joining me today for Email Marketing Best Practices Explained. My name is Tanya Angel, and I'm a Marketing Automation Specialist here at SimpleView. I'm joined by the lovely Robin Temple, who will be moderating and taking any comments that come through. And then I'll go ahead and let Natalie introduce herself.
Hi, yeah, my name is Natalie Dasher, and I am a marketing automation specialist as well.
So moving right along, so our agenda for today, we'll be touching base on the basics, subject line tips, email headers, using fonts in email, call to actions. We'll be, showing you some newsletter examples and 2020 design trends. So first, let's go ahead and start off with the poll question to survey the audience. Okay, great. Thank you all for your answers to all of that. My philosophy is that not only are you responsible for your life, but doing the best at this moment puts you in the best place for the next moment. So the reason why I included this quote in this email, because not only, not in this email, but in this presentation, is because I understand that with COVID-19, this is kind of currently keeping us from our goals and maybe the goals that we had set in the beginning of the fiscal year. However, if we could find a way through this moment, it'll set us up for the next moment, which is making our future goals happen. So with that said, let's go ahead and move into the basics. Now, my goal in running through these is to get you to understand that by applying these basics, that you'll be able to boost your open rate and increase your overall deliverability. So I'll be touching on these in my next couple of slides. So Los Angeles, they have done a really amazing job with sizing their hero image appropriately for this email. One thing I highly recommend when building out an email is to size your images before you build the email. There's nothing more frustrating than uploading images, building out the entire email, and then finding out that the images are either too large, they're not sizing appropriately to convert to mobile, or, worst case scenario, they're not even loading at all. So again, size those images before you build. One helpful, actually two helpful tools that I like to use once I've sized my images is I like to drop them into Squoosh or tinypng.com to reduce the overall weight of the image as well. And one thing I really like in this email is the usage of white space. Incorporating that white space in your email really gives the eye a nice place to rest in between content areas, and I really think that Los Angeles has done a really great job at leveraging that, and it's just a beautiful email. All right, moving into text to image ratio. I chose this email because it really embodies the expectation of the text to image ratio balance of 60% text to 40% image. Not only that, but the content areas are structured for easy eye scanning with the image first, accompanied by the title, and then a nice call to action with an explanation of if they click here, this is what you're going to get. So again, it's just really nice and easy on the eyes. Then lastly, test. I cannot stress how important it is to test your email before you hit that send button, because once you hit send, there's no going back. And there's nothing more painstaking than hitting that send button and receiving an email and finding out that your fonts aren't showing up, your images aren't stacking appropriately. I mean, you just can't go back from that. So make sure to test. These are 2 free services I like to use. I know that there are many more out there, but Putsmail and Mailtester are, 2 of my personal favorites. So 64% of people say they open an email because of the subject line. That is a pretty much self-explanatory. I don't think I need to go in depth too much about that because we're going to go ahead and move into subject lines. But before that, we're going to go ahead and take another poll question. Okay, great. Again, thank you guys all for participating in those polls. Move ahead.
Tanya, I had myself on mute. Looks like we still have people reporting in. I apologize. My phone is being weird. So okay. Now it looks like we're ready. I'll bring the poll down. It looks like 31% said reporting tools. And then we've got the next follow-up is personalization and customization are at a tie.
Okay, great. Again, thank you guys so much. Seems like there's a balance of responses there. So we will definitely be following up on those after the webinar today. Okay, moving into subject line tips. Bottom line, if it provokes emotion, it's action oriented, and it's clear and understandable, then somebody's gonna open it, okay? I'm gonna open it. So don't be afraid either to use emojis. If you're saying, how does a pina colada on the beach in Maui sound, and you use a pina colada emoji, it's gonna provoke that curiosity more, and I'm more than likely gonna go ahead and open that email. Okay. Oop, here we go. And then again, testing. Testing doesn't just fall under testing the email. You want to make sure that you're testing the subject line as well. Because again, once you send it, you can't come back from, sending it. So this is a subject line tester. It is also free through NetAtlantic that I like to use, but I understand that there are a vast variety of free subject line tester tools out there. So again, make sure you're doing that before you send out that email. Email headers. Okay, so these don't have to be the generic view the online version or view in your browser. You have prime real estate right here and a lot of white space to work with. And so I highly recommend doing something creative. This is the first thing that your subscriber sees when they open your email. Discover the Palm Beaches, they really did a good job of using this white space to promote their visitor guide, and they added text to why their subscribers are receiving this email. So doing this, it helps the subscriber remember why and when they signed up, and it'll discourage them from unsubscribing. And then Natalie, why don't you tell us what Northern Territory did here?
Yeah, I think this is just another good example of something that you can do with your header. They're just, again, promoting their Australian bucket list adventure, as well as, again, still doing the, no images, click here. I think it's just another example of something you can do if you don't want to promote a visitor guide or you just don't want to use that much space, but you still fill it in some sort of way.
Yeah, I agree with you on that, Natalie. Okay, and then using fonts in email, I'm going to be touching on a couple of these different fonts, and I get a lot of questions about these in this industry, so I want to make sure that I go, really touch on the fonts. Using multiple fonts. You don't want to use too many. However, using 2 fonts in your templates is really a good rule of thumb. Using one font for your titles and then one font for your text, that is really good flow to follow. This is a great example of that being used. It's really easy to use. It's sized appropriately, and same thing with like line height incorporated, so you can clearly read things and are not all bunched together. Google Fonts. These are a personal favorite. Google Fonts is always really like a go-to for me, so, because you have a vast variety of fonts that you can choose from. I mean, there's 600 plus, I believe. So one thing to keep in mind, though, however, is they're only supported by Outlook, Apple Mail, iOS Mail, and Samsung. So that's just kind of something to keep in mind when you're using those. St. Petersburg has done a really good job with incorporating a Google font. It's nice and clean, and again, embodying all of the best practices that we've been going over so far in this webinar. Then web fonts. These are specifically designed for the web or web apps. However, you can obviously use these if you'd like to step away from the standard web-based fonts. Just keep in mind that Outlook does not support them, so if you're going to use them, that is one email provider that it won't work in. So this is another example of a great email, very nicely put together, very clean, incorporating white space, easy eye scanning throughout the beginning of the email to the end of the email. And then web-based fonts, these are the most commonly used. And the reason why is because they're the most widely supported, because they're the defaults found on your operating system. So meaning your WYSIWYG editor, what you see is what you get. If you're using, an email, product, they're going to incorporate these web-based fonts in there, so you won't have any issues with, the message getting across and the fonts showing up appropriately. Airbnb, they like to walk the line of safe and clean. Make it simple, make it memorable, make it inviting to look at, and make it fun to read. Really, that's self-explanatory. If it's memorable, it's creating this excitement, and it's encouraging me to do something, and it's fun to read, I'm going to be looking forward for that next email from you. So calls to action. So we really want to stay away from the click here and read more. To be perfectly honest with you, they're the most widely overused, and they're pretty boring. This example here with Amy Grant is action-oriented, and it creates this sense of excitement. So I mean, who doesn't want to take a cruise with Amy Grant? I know I would, so I'm going to click that button. Then moving into this one, I mean, they're using noticeable color to draw attention, and again, embodying that action-oriented text. By clicking on these buttons where you're going to go and what you're going to get. And then lastly, this example, they use ample white space as not proud the call to action, so you're focused on the most important place to click. Hello, Natalie?
Oh, sorry, I was on mute.
Okay. I mean, it's not, in the office unless you're having, technical issues. So.
Yeah, so we just also included this quote that we felt was really relevant to everything going on. It's, you're not competing against everything in the inbox, you're competing against your last email. And I think we should just be really thinking about that during COVID, what email would be best for our locals in our areas, what we can do to continue that and obtain that. So we are going to go into newsletter examples. So this is from Palm Springs. They just are really embodying the nice use of the image ratio of including these beautiful images in their email, but also having a sufficient amount of text to cover it. They're also kind of embracing everything going on with COVID as well by creating a new campaign, a new message of how to now meet later. And I think they just did that really well and really simply that draws you to their email and makes you want to actually, read their email, see what you can do, what's going on. And then in the next one, LA, again, doing another great example of doing Takeout Tuesday. This is just a really simple email of how you can stay connected with local restaurants with everything going on in LA. And it's just, you know, the image that they use, like, it's intriguing. You're probably hungry. You probably do want to eat out and not make food in your house. So they just did a really simple example of what you can do. And then we are going to do Spokane. So they just have a really nice, clean email that really, again, just they're using images, they're using text, their white space. They're really utilizing that. They're not trying to fill the entire email. They're making it just really clean and simple to read. Their buttons are different colors, and so you're intrigued. They're not just learn more. They show a little bit more on their buttons. So again, they're just really utilizing all of the best practices that we recommend with email. And then lastly, we have Olympia and Beyond. They just really, again, have embraced their branding and their colors in an email to make it really their style. I think that's just something that we really want to encourage, that you are just embracing what you know best. And they really do that. They really just have a nice, easy balance of everything in their email. Again, they're using different fonts, like we've talked about, that render really well with their email and break it up so it's not just all one consistent font. And I think that's just really something to note as well.
Okay, and then we'll go ahead and move into another poll question.
All right, so would you rather hire an agency to build your emails or invest in training yourself to build email? And, wow, so it looks like everybody wants to do it themselves. I'm going to give them a few more seconds to answer, but it's still the front runner here. We have 12% saying hire an agency and 89% build the email themselves. And I'm going to go ahead and pull that down. And
okay.
See you, Tony.
Okay, so it looks like the majority actually would rather build out their own emails, which I definitely think, if it, you know, that this current situation has taught us, it's important to know how to do these things on our own and not just rely on other people. So thank you guys all for that feedback. Let's move into 2020 design trends. So really good emails. Realistically, what you see is what you get. If you haven't visited their website, I would highly recommend going and checking them out. I know that there are times when we're feeling lulled and uninspired, and we're, you know, maybe looking to rebrand and create new content. So this is just a really good website to turn to for, you know, inspiration and to see what other people out there are doing to get ideas. And I went ahead and added this in just because I thought it was just a really creative way to use font in an image. You've got like the different shades of the font, and it just draws you in. So it just, to me, it was like super inspiring, you know, for ideas of that next email that we may be planning to send out to incorporate something like this. And then Natalie, why don't you let us know what your thoughts are on this beautiful Hawaiian Airlines template?
No, yeah, we also encourage interactive GIFs. They are just a really great way to change up your email or give it a dynamic feel. Even as something as simple as what the Hawaiian Airlines did with moving water. It doesn't have to be anything super crazy. It can be very subtle, and it does do well with clicks and with people wanting to know more and just being intrigued by the image and continuing looking at that. So I think they did a really good job without that.
Yeah, I agree with you on that one. And not only that, but there's just a really good balance with image to text too. So I bet that converts nicely to mobile. And then this one here, I know that we aren't in the retail industry at all. However, retail templates are so important to review as case studies because they're battle tested and designed to deliver a hard conversion. And I just feel that we can learn a lot from them. Not only was this not only did I think that this was incredibly creative, but it's eye-catching, and considering we're all stuck at home, I thought I'd, pop in something fun, because who wouldn't want comfy pants that you can snap right off if you get too hot? And then, Litmus, they never, they always impress me with everything that they're sending out, down to, from their coding to the testing and to the things that they send out. And I'm so sorry, Natalie. I know that you were going to speak to this one, so go ahead and tell me your thoughts.
Oh, no. No, I think it's really true. I think that the GIF that they use is just a simple example of design to code is what they're promoting with the new Litmus Scope, which is a really great tool to use. And the way they lay out their emails, you are right, it's very impressive. It's simple, but it gets to the point, and you just want to know more and you want to click. And I think that what you said really speaks true to that with their choice of interactive GIF in their email.
Yeah. And then go ahead. So we'll move into yeah. Go ahead.
Yeah. So this is the fun of doing webinars from home. So yeah. So helpful links. We did provide some other links that I did add in the chat, as for example, for Squoosh and tinypng.com. But these are just some of the other links that we mentioned as well that would be helpful. Mail tester for testing your subject line. Email subject line greeter for testing your subject line, and really good emails to look at examples. So we have all of those listed there for you as well. These are free, so it's just a really great resource during this time while you're building your emails to refer to these to make sure that you are testing and taking advantage of them.
Yeah, and then unrelated to to the email templates, we decided to add some feel-good links. I just think that it's important with all the negative stuff out there that's happening in the world, and the media kind of hyping things, that it's important to see what good stuff is happening. And I personally always, before this even, came to fruition, I always like to start my day on the goodnewsnetwork.org. There's just, always just super amazing things happening, not only in the community and around the world, and related to COVID-19. So we've added that there for you to go ahead and check that out. In addition to that, we SparkToro created a blog, that's called Read the Room. It is an amazing read, and I highly recommend, on your free time when you're trying to break up the monotony of your day-to-day, go ahead and read that blog, because it's definitely one of those feel-good type of blogs with amazing information. And then we'll go ahead and end with some questions and open it up to the audience.
All right, so if you guys want to ask Tanya any questions, feel free to toss them into the chat. Tanya, I'm going to read off a couple that we've already got stored up. This first one goes back to when you were talking about fonts. And the person asked, what fonts should you avoid? So are there any specific fonts when creating emails that they should be avoiding?
Okay, that's actually a really good question. I usually recommend walking on the safe side. So using, either Google fonts or the WebSafe fonts is always, generally my rule of thumb and my recommendation. Just because with those ones, they're actually going to work in they're supported in other devices and email providers. I would gear towards staying away from web fonts unless, you know, you're dedicated to using those. But again, remember they don't work and they're not supported in every email provider Outlook. So.
Okay. And along those same lines, someone asked, where do we find what fonts are quote unquote web safe? Is it a matter of just easily Googling it, Googling the question and getting examples?
Web safe fonts are actually, they're the defaults that are found on your different computers, your devices, and your operating system. So they're the ones that are like readily available to you when you're building out your email in the platform you're building it in. Otherwise, if you don't have a WYSIWYG editor, then yes, Google is always a good resource for finding those.
Perfect. And then our next question is, what email software do you recommend?
Well, I mean, I'm obviously going to say Acton. I know that there's a bunch of other good ones out there, but my personal favorite, is Acton. It's user-friendly, it's very easy to use, and if you've never actually worked in it before or worked in an email platform or software prior to this, it's a good starter one. So.
And there's a lot of integration points with our other products in regards to Acton, so that's the bonus. But of course, you don't have to have our products in order to have use Acton, which is really nice as well.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yep. So if you are interested in pursuing that, you can reach out to Tanya or Natalie, or you can even just directly to your account manager, and they can get you some more information and even maybe do a preview for you of that particular software. Our next question is thoughts on frequency best practices.
So frequency best practices, that's another good question. So obviously, like if people aren't hearing from you much, I mean, they're going to forget about you. And I mean, I always like to say that you can never send too many emails, even if they don't open all of them. At some point, maybe their lives are busy and other things are going on, but if they keep receiving, messages from you, then they're going to remember you and they're going to open it at some point when they need a service or they want to travel or whatever. So I say, weekly, bi-weekly, having newsletters go out is a good way to send out the newsletters once a month. I feel like you'll just get lost in the inbox if it's just once a month.
Perfect. And then the last question we have in queue is, can you add fonts to Acton? So if they have a branded font, would they be able to install it and use it within Acton?
Yes, absolutely. You can create a stationery and use the Google fonts there. So there is on the Acton Connect and website, they have a detailed explanation on how to do that and implement that into your Acton instance. We can provide you with that that content as well after this webinar if you wish to receive that.
Perfect. Oh, looks like we got two more here. Another Acton question.
Okay.
Does Acton auto resize images?
So Acton, it is meant to be responsive. However, you do want to make sure, again, that you're still staying within the confines of sizing your images appropriately for the section in which you're using them. Because, there's never like 100% guarantee that, the receiving end that device is going to read that code and size it appropriately for that device. So staying within, the confines of, a max of 600 pixels or 650 pixels for a hero image, that will definitely, increase your deliverability and ensure that they are going to size appropriately for that device.
Perfect. And we've got another Act-On question. They wanted to know whether or not you can use emojis in the subject line of Act-On emails.
So yes, you can use emojis in the Act-On for the subject line. And, you know, I have a lot of clients that are currently using them, and it's always fun and exciting when that happens. So, and
Perfect.
I can
Looks
actually
like
provide. Oh, go ahead.
No, go ahead, Tanya. Go ahead.
You know, I can actually provide you a link to a couple of the emoji sites that we like to use. You know, when we're building out emails, if you guys like.
Perfect. That was our last question. I'm going to give the audience just a couple more seconds. Oh, here's another one. So we've got one person who's asking a Distribuon question. They wanted to know whether or not you can use emojis in Distribuon subject lines.
You know, that's a really good question. I'm not entirely too sure on that, so I'm definitely going to have to touch base with the team here and get back to you on that one.
Okay, so yeah, we'll definitely follow up with the person who asked that question.
Mm-hmm.
And a follow-up question to the images question from earlier. What was the text-to-image ratio again?
Okay, yeah, so that's 60% text to 40% image.
Awesome. All right, and I think that might be it, or give them a couple more seconds. And just to let everybody know, at the end of the webinar today, after we are done producing all of this, you will get an email tomorrow with a link to the webinar and the presentation itself. So you'll have a chance to review all of this later on. And Tanya, I don't know if you want to fast forward to the slide that shows your contact information.
Okay, yeah. And then thank you guys again for joining me today. I was super excited out here. Hopefully it broke up, you know, your day and took your mind off of other things, you know, going on. If you'd like to reach out to me for any reason, or you have additional questions, or if there's anything that I could help you with, you know, here's my contact information, and you know, Natalie as well as Robin. So we're all here to support you. You know, and I hope you guys all have a day today. Stay safe, stay home, and stay healthy.
All right, and it looks like there are no more questions. So with that, we will end our webinar. And I also want to say thank you for joining us today, and I hope all of you have a wonderful day.